Mike, what you up to today? Well, this afternoon I thought it might be kind of interesting that maybe you guys want to see what I do as far as taking care of my garden from day to day, how I weed it, how I just keep it up, just doing little tasks, you know, your garden chores. So I thought I'd just film a little bit and see how this goes. One of the first things I do is I straighten up the garden, meaning like these plants here. If they're in the pathways, first thing I do is I tie them up, or I use these crop clips for the cherry tomatoes and just get them back to the trellis. You want to do all that first before you get in here and start weeding, because you may damage your plants. Plus, you won't be able to see all the weeds. So the first thing I do is I go and I use the crop clips and I start with my cherry tomatoes, and I'll go ahead and pull them back to the trellis so we can do some weeding. Also, your tomato plants over here, if those need to be tied up, go ahead and tie those up. If they need to be trimmed, trim them. You want to get all that stuff done first before you do any weeding. So we're going to go ahead and start with the crop clips. Right now we're going to go ahead and we're going to start with just trellising up the tomatoes. We're just going to pull the plants back to the trellis to keep them out of the pathway so we can get under here and weed. Now I've already showed you guys in earlier videos how I do this, and I'm just going to kind of talk a little bit, pull these back, just get them out of the pathways a little bit. And like I said before, you can use sometimes you won't be able to put it on the trellis, remember? So I'll use one limb. I'll use a limb instead of the trellis to pull the plants together. If I can. That one there won't go, so I'm going to have to find a closer limb. So I found one over here. And we'll trim a little bit. Throw it over there. Sometimes they're going to be in the pathways a little bit, but if I can get them moved over to where we don't have to worry about damaging them. Like so. It doesn't take long, because I wouldn't really get crazy with it, because things change so quickly day to day. So don't overthink it. If you see a limb, you can pull it back, get it out of the way. Just pull it back and fasten it back. Now I'll go around the other side. This side over here I'm not real concerned about, because I don't have another crop on this side, so this is more just making it nice and neat for me. I think I'll leave that alone. Now this one here is pretty tall, so I'll go ahead and put a clip on this, because it'll get top heavy and it may fall over and break. me put maybe 2 more clips on here, and I think we'll be done with trellising the cherry tomatoes this evening. See, it does not take long. The key to this is, with any gardening, it's just always do something, if you can, every day. If you're not at work, you don't have other things to do at home, get down to the garden. And there we go. And that's all I'm going to do for today for the cherry tomatoes. My tomatoes over here on the end, I don't need to tie those up, I don't believe. Those are looking okay for right now. So now I can just get my stirrup hoe and we can do some weeding. Now, this is what I call a stirrup hoe. This is my primary tool. If you're a new gardener or an old gardener, this thing is the most used tool that I use in my garden. And it's the best 20 bucks I promise you that you'll spend on weeding your garden. So go out and just spend 20 bucks. It's really easy to use. I can weed my garden in just a matter of minutes. That's all it is just going across the ground and scraping it wherever you see a weed. Now, if you're just starting gardening, you're going to be overrun with weeds. That's just the way it is when you start gardening. And the only way to have a nice, clean garden is to be diligent with your weeding. I come down to my garden every day that I'm not working. And it doesn't take me long at all to weed. And your weeds, if you do it every day, they're small. You don't have to bend over and pick them up and throw them out. Just let them rot right where they are. Now, when you first start weeding, it's a new garden, you're going to be overrun with weeds. They're going to be really tall. It's going to be crazy. So you're going to have to bend over and pull those weeds out. But my weeding, it is so easy. And I just walk around my garden kind of fast. You don't have to spend a lot of time looking at it. If it's clean, if you do a good job keeping your garden clean, you can walk around your garden really quick and whack, whack, the weeds are gone. And I am halfway done with my garden already. Now, like I said, if you're a new gardener and you're gardening a new piece of ground, you're going to have a lot of weeds. But if you stick with it like how I'm doing it, every year it gets easier. And when I'm not growing in it, what helps a lot is covering your garden. So if you keep up with your weeding, like I said, this is not a laborious or difficult job if you stick with it every day. You see how long this has taken me. I mean, there's nothing to it. This hoe is just awesome. I mean, you just take it like this, scrape it across the ground, and it's gone. And I just leave them right there. I can hardly see the weeds in my garden. They're very, very small. But like I said, I'm down here every day. that I'm not working. And also what I like is when you scratch it, when you pull this stirrup hoe over your garden rows, aerates the soil also. So it's nice and loose. So when you do get rain, it'll penetrate the ground. You don't want it to leave a hard surface. You want the garden to be able to accept rain when it does. And this does a great job with just breaking that soil up just enough without damaging any roots. Do a light scraping over it. And when you get that afternoon summer rain, your plants will perk up. The ground is ready to take in all that rain instead of running off, because if your soil's hard, rain's going to run off. And I'm done with my weeding. That's all there is to it, gang. But like I said, you know, when you're a new gardener and you just start in your garden, you're gonna be down here, you're gonna weed a lot. But several years of work in this spot, being diligent with my weeding, it only takes a few minutes and there's nothing to it. And it looks great. So, we trellised up some cherry tomatoes. We did a little weeding in probably 5 or 6 minutes. And it would probably been a lot faster than that than if I would have, if I would have not been talking and filming, it would have been even quicker. So, that's my gardening, that's my weeding. That's what I do every day. I walk around the garden. If I see something needs to be tied up, I tie it up. And I would suggest if you get one of these, if you're not harvesting, go to the garden, make sure you have a hoe in your hand. Because when you walk the garden, when you're looking, you can just do a quick weeding and it's done. But if you go to your garden, you just want to look around, where's your hoe? It takes a lot more time. You might as well walk the garden with a hoe in your hand. And that's it for me. Just a quick video, show you how I do my day-to-day maintenance in my garden. Nothing to it as long as you stick with it. Thanks for watching.